Well, welcome to or welcome back to the Green Chemistry Connections, hosted by Beyond Benign. We are going to be hosting today two amazing speakers. So as you're getting tuned in, we're just going to do some opening welcome remarks here. So welcome back. It's great to see you all. The Green Chemistry Connections that we have today is going to run from 12 to 2 p.m. ET. We know that you're joining from all over the world, but we are running in ET time. So just please make a note of that. On our agenda, all the times are in ET, and we'll make sure to announce as we're progressing through the schedule where we are in the program. We do have breakout rooms coming up and a short break around the 1 o'clock hour, but two great presentations on either side of those networking breaks and a short break as well. We are thrilled to have you today. So I am welcoming you all. I'm Natalie O'Neill, if we haven't had the chance to meet. I'm the Director of Higher Education at Beyond Benign. I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nim. I am a program manager for higher education, and I work with Natalie. I have been present at the past few Green Chemistry Connections, so that's where you might have seen me. Really happy to see you all today and to have some great discussions. I will be active in the chat, so if you ever have a question, please pop it in there and I'll try to address it kind of behind the scenes. And I'm going to hand it off to Juliana to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Juliana. I'm a postgraduate student liaison here at Beyond Benign, and I'm very excited to be here with you in our connections. And yes, if you need any help, please let me know and just let us know in the chat. And I'm excited to talk to you. Thank you.
Great, so we do have some just opening comments to make. So I'm going to turn it back over to Nim to do our land acknowledgement.
Yeah, so we just wanted to begin today with a land acknowledgement where we wish to acknowledge this unceded land on which Beyond Benign operates. For years, it has been the traditional land of the Pawtucket and the Massachusetts nations. We acknowledge the painful history of genocide, colonialism, and forced removal from this territory, and also acknowledge that further education on our part is needed to learn the full history of the land we occupy and all the Indigenous peoples it belongs to. And presently, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous nations across Turtle Island, and we honor, respect, and celebrate the diversity of peoples that are connected to this land. And because we're all coming together in a virtual space today, we would like to acknowledge that us and our attendees occupy unceded land and territories belonging to Indigenous nations across the world. And in terms of what Beyond Benign is doing on our side, we are committing to educating ourselves, to supporting Indigenous communities, and to decolonizing our organization, our practices, programs, and activities. And we do encourage you as our attendees today to do the same. And if you are interested in how we put together this particular land acknowledgement, there is a link at the bottom of the slide that you can follow to take a look at the resources that we used for that. And next slide, maybe.
Hopefully you're seeing using pronouns.
I am not.
Okay. All right, I see the slide. I hope others have seen the slide.
Oh, I can see it now. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. Perfect. So again, just kind of as part of our introduction today, we wanted to talk about the discussions that we might have and using pronouns. So people's pronouns are how we identify ourselves and how someone else is going to refer to us. You can see that I have my own in my Zoom screen name, actually. And just from the perspective of having a respectful and engaging discussion, it's important to use the ones that others want us to use. And so I've written some examples of pronouns there. Some people use more than one set, so I'm a good example because I like to be referred to using she, her pronouns and they, them pronouns. And some people don't use them at all and just want you to refer to them by name. So it's important to be able to ask. And if you want to put your pronouns into your Zoom display name, which is the slide that I'm seeing currently, what you can do is hover over the three dots on the upper right corner of your name. And if you just choose to rename yourself, then you can type in your pronouns in brackets like that. So And there are some instructions there if you would like to do this permanently. But if we go to the next slide. The other thing that we're doing for this discussion today is that we have enabled live transcription. So if you would like to see some subtitles or a transcript at the bottom of your screen, that will be available during the meeting and afterwards. And so to enable it during the meeting, what you can do is press the live transcript button at the bottom of your screen that has the CC logo, and that should enable the live subtitles for you. And now I will hand it back off to Natalie.
Great, thanks, Nim. So it seems like we do have a little lag, so I'm just gonna make sure I leave a little time for those slides to load. But hopefully you can see now our code of conduct, and before you entered the meeting today, we also reminded you that signing up for this event, you agree to the rules of how we conduct ourselves in these connection meetings. Our general guideline is to speak up and to step back, so please share your information. We're happy to have you all here connecting, but let's make sure that there is equity in the conversation, that everyone is being included, that everyone's viewpoints are shared during our time here today. And so these are the behaviors that we expect to see today. If at all you feel that someone is not abiding by this code of conduct, you can let Juliana or Nim know in the chat, and we will address that as needed. But we are happy to have you all here interacting with us today virtually. So I do just want to give, in case there are anyone new here in the community, or also just an update if you haven't heard from us at Beyond Benign in a while. The work that we are doing is really across the education continuum. So we mainly here, Nim, Juliana, and myself represent the higher education team at Beyond Benign, but we work from K through 12 to higher ed to plus that, so industry as well, because of the pipeline of where chemists and scientists end up. And so we work across the STEM education continuum. And our mission is really to foster community. So hence why we're having this community discussion, a chance to interact, see short presentations from those practicing green chemistry in the field. And so green chemistry is our main mission at Beyond Benign. This nonprofit was founded by Dr. John Warner, a co-founder of the field of green chemistry, and Dr. Amy Cannon. Our main work within higher education focuses around the Green Chemistry Commitment Program. So this may be a program that you are a part of, or it may be a program that you've heard about or new to you completely. I will say it's grown in the last few years. We are thrilled to have 94 signers globally. And if you'd like to know more about this program, we'd be happy to talk about it. But it really is our founding program for the higher education work that we do. As I mentioned, our work at Beyond Benign is all focused around green chemistry education and this pipeline. And we want to see that within the United States, 25% of graduating chemists have a background in green chemistry by 2025. And so this is a goal that we have for the United States specifically, but our commitment is global. So we welcome all global partners to join us, but just the metrics that we put on were for the United States because we could access that data. And we are currently at 10% of graduating students coming from GCC signing schools. So we would love to see that percentage grow. So if you're joining us from a non-GCC signing school in the United States, we'd love to talk more about the Green Chemistry Commitment Program with you and the benefits and why you might want to join us. We have had 2 institutions join us since our last connection in March, and so we would like to welcome them. We have Rose-Hulman, our first signer in Indiana, so we're really excited for them to be our first signer in Indiana, but also talking to us today about the green chemistry work that they were already doing on their campus before they came to us as the commitment signers. And so know that you can sign on to the commitment as someone already doing green chemistry or the intention to do green chemistry as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing from them today. And then we also have our second signer in Germany, which is the Rose-Hulman Institute. And so you'll learn more about our signers on our website. Each signer has a profile, so you can see where in the United States, where globally these signers are located. We do try to interact with our community as much as we can, and we invite you to join us as well. So Juliana, that you met earlier, is our social media guru, and she will be live tweeting the connections today. You can join in by following us at Beyond Benign, sharing the hashtag Green Chemistry or Green Chemistry Connections as well. So back to today's agenda, we've done our short welcome and introduction just to Beyond Benign and to the community. So we're really excited to have today joining us from South Africa, Dr. Tricia Naicker, who is an associate professor in the College of Health Science, the discipline of pharmaceutical science at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. She is the first recipient of the 2022 John Warner Early Career Research Prize from Green Chemistry Letters and Reviews. And she was selected specifically by John Warner and the editor-in-chief of the Green Chemistry and Letters and Reviews for her work that's entitled The Need to Merge Supercritical Fluid Chromatography into Undergraduate Curriculum for the 21st Century. In that article, she highlights the importance of introducing students to green analytical techniques, such as supercritical fluids, already at the graduate level. Tricia is passionate about promoting green methodologies within her own country, South Africa, and the world. And so we are honored to have her today joining us. I'm going to turn it over to you now, Tricia, to share your screen and to share your work with us.
Thank you, Natalie. You see my screen?
Yes, it looks great and you sound great.
Okay. Good day to everybody. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you to Beyond Benign for the invite. Yeah, so as Natalie said, I'm talking to you today from the East Coast of South Africa, actually, and my time here is just a few minutes past 6 p.m. So I will be discussing the current need to merge supercritical fluid chromatography, or SFC, that I will refer to it from here on, into undergraduate curricula. For those of you that do not know, SFC is a purification technique that utilizes a supercritical fluid as the mobile phase. This supercritical fluid is a condensed gas and typically is carbon dioxide. Sorry, Natalie, you can see my entire screen, yeah?
Yes, I can see your entire PowerPoint slide. Just the PowerPoint slide.
Okay, no problem, because on my side, I see some pictures on the side and I wasn't sure if that was coming up for you, but I think that's just my setting. Sorry about that. We all have to get used to these virtual type of presentations. So essentially, SFC is analogous to normal phase liquid chromatography. So some history about this technique it started in 1958 when someone by the name of Lovelock proposed to use inorganic gases above their critical point as a mobile phase in chromatography. But its first application came in 1962 from the team of Klepser and team to separate thermally labile porphyrins. So its progress was slow, followed by the development and commercialization of open tubular or capillary SFC. This was intended to be an alternative to GC. And in 1981, Lee and his co-worker introduced capillary SFC columns that employed pressure programming of pure CO2. Now, these developments occurred concurrently with the group of Hewlett-Packard, who also developed fused silica capillary columns. Capillary columns for SFC were eventually discontinued due to the poor reproducibility, high cost, and inefficient separation. Thereafter, Hewlett-Packard converted an HPLC system into an SFC system using a pack column. And this became the standard type of column moving forward for this technique. In about 1986, the first chiral separation using this technique was demonstrated for the enantiometric resolution of chiral amides and phosphine oxides. In the early 1990s, interest in packed column SFC was reignited due to advances involving mixed mobile phases and improved pressure gradient techniques. So during the mid to late 1990s, the modern SFC was created to purify pharmaceuticals, thereby sparking Hewlett-Packard's return to the SFC market. And in 2010, Agilent, as we all know, introduced the Affinity Hybrid SFC, while Waters manufactured the Ultra the Equity Ultra High Performance Convergence Chromatography, which is a system which is sold up to this day, and it still has that same name. So these SFC instruments brought about an expansion and renewed interest in the field of SFC, since it could be employed for rapid, robust, and high precision method validation of a number of analytes. But already at this time, it was reported in a commentary article that appeared in Analytical Chemistry that supercritical fluid chromatography had established itself in pharmaceutical and petrochemical industries, but had lost ground in academia. Nevertheless, in the past 2 decades, there have been major advancements with the components and software for SFC. This has triggered the resurgence for increased industrial applications. Some significant advantages include the use of stacked injections. Now, stacked injections allows for higher throughput and the ability to process larger sample volumes, something that we do in our lab all the time. And the electronic back pressure regulator, which was a huge challenge for SFC in the past, is now able to maintain the critical pressures throughout the SFC system. The instruments are now sensitive enough to adjust gradient flow setups, and added advantages of continuously developing more options for stationary phases. And the expansion of usable modifiers for SFC has also allowed for the separation of proteins and peptides. And here you can see this trend illustrated here with these graphs. You can see the demand for SFC purification. I could only find one up until 2011, but you can see the market share is really increasing. The various research areas using supercritical fluid across the board. And this is metrics from Scopus with the number of publications and citations, including the keyword supercritical fluid chromatography. So as we are aware, as chemists, we are trying to move forward towards more benign approaches in the way we do chemistry, as well as the type of chemistry we perform in this world dominated by climate change and sustainability. At my lab, we became very interested in replacing our normal phase benchtop silica gel chromatography with SFC. So there will be no need to work with and dispose of harmful silica gel and deal with the large amount of solvent waste that it generates. And I can confidently tell you that we experience these advantages. The reduction in solvent waste, and I don't have to be signing a bill at the end of the month for the amount of waste that comes out of all the chromatography that my students run. CO2, it's inexpensive, it's not flammable, it's non-hazardous. It really is advantageous to use now at the SFC. And we, in the past, it'll take maybe an whole day, sometimes 2 days to run a column. Here, because of the higher efficiency, the analysis time is so much shorter. And the ease of recycling and unresolved fraction. I mean, everyone here who runs benchtop chromatography knows that if you get a mixture, then you have to repack the column. Here, it's a click of a button where you just ask it to re-inject. So these advantages are real. And this is what a typical SFC looks like. And we had bought ours from a German supplier, a company called Sapiatech. And some applications of my research group is we used SFC to isolate diastereomers and enantiomers of a drug called bedaquiline. It is the most critical pharmaceutical in the world for treating multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. We successfully applied SFC to purify BODP peptides, and BODP is a popular dye imaging agent. We recently were also successful in using SFC to purify larger proteins, including insulin, and we're currently using it for a range of other molecules. At the moment, we are even developing some catalytic reactions in which we replace the solvent completely with CO2, and this work is yet to be published. So, SFC is becoming a mainstream separation technique. It's complementary to liquid and gas chromatography. And there is worldwide demand for more SFC users, since green method development has becoming a favorable target for research into sustainable technologies. SFC teaching or training poses one of the key challenges for its implementation amongst trained personnel in academia and industry. According to an article in 2014, SFC application seeks new users, the author interviewed experts in the field of SFC, and they stated that in the past 20 years, and this is why I showed you the timeline at the first slide. In the past 20 years, academic labs had not implemented the use of SFC since undergraduate and postgraduate students are not trained in this cutting-edge technology. As such, a considerable amount of training must be conducted in order for widespread acceptance of SFC, as scientists are more accustomed to HPLC, which is true. You know, we all know HPLC as the most common isolation and purification technique. So SFC is extensively employed in the pharmaceutical industry, but it's not thoroughly used in academia. And the scarcity of SFC knowledge for graduates may be due to limited academic training in the field, fewer institutions having access to the equipment based on the historically higher costs than HPLC. The consequences of failed acceptance, instrument shortages, and limited undergraduate laboratory exposure to this technology creates this gap in knowledge, which is one of the reasons why I brought about us writing this paper. So graduates without the necessary skills and training will be at risk should they wish to enter industrial sectors already making use of SFC. So the scientific advances in the field of modern day SFC technology, together with the increased industrial application, should warrant its incorporation into core undergraduate pharmaceutical sciences or chemistry curricula. And teaching undergraduate students SFC operation and applications could be implemented in a similar manner to that followed by the authors that I have down here, Wang and Can, to infuse green chemistry into chemistry curricula. And this technology, I believe, can be translated in the context of green chemistry principles for the minimization of waste, energy efficient methods, proper waste management, sustainability, less toxic and renewable reagents. So in conclusion, the future of SFC seems to be beaming since it has solved many of the HPLC limitations. It meets successfully separation requirements, fast, robust, and sensitive, and it champions the approach for greener methodologies. We as educators have a responsibility to accept newer innovative technologies into our curricula that more closely parallels industry trends. It is also imperative that we embrace and teach alternatives to traditional methods that are more sustainable, energy efficient, and cost effective, leading to advantageous impacts on our environment and health. And I believe that the fact that you attend this and you're part of Beyond Benign, you already know this. And you know, the take-home message from this paper for me was the call for higher education institutions to merge SFC topics within undergraduate curricula under the section of chromatography or green chemistry, and also for established researchers in the field to publish simple SFC separatory introductory experimental procedures to better train students, you know, to implement it in a practical, so that students can gain this practical knowledge and experience. And finally, it's recommended for funding agencies to support higher education institutions in purchasing SFC instrumentation to provide graduates with the much needed enhancement of skills in this fast growing and promising area. So with that, I would like to thank you for the invite and thank all the virtual audience for listening to me. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Tricia. That was wonderful. I'm going to open it up. If there's any questions from the audience, you can put them into the chat. You can also either raise your hand or unmute yourself to ask a question. So feel free to do that. We'll give a second to look in. You've got comments coming into the chat. Very good insight for the FSC2. Thanks. Great talk, which I couldn't agree more. And all the things that you mentioned in terms of the responsibility of educators to really prepare students with these skills, and how industry as well should support that as well, is very much a powerful statement. So thank you for doing that. I see Marcia has her hand up, so I'm going to unmute you. So if actually, it looks like you're already unmuted, so go for it, ask your question.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you. This is my first time participating in anything, and I would be remiss if I just didn't mention how awesome that introduction was with the land acknowledgement. I am a career educator and I have participated in Zoom meetings, in-person meetings, professional development, professional learning communities, and I have never, ever in my career heard anybody give a land acknowledgement. And I just think it's incredibly awesome that we're getting to a place where we acknowledge those who were here before us. And here in Philadelphia, I have an initiative that I'm going to roll out in September about the Lenni Lenape Nation that occupied this area before William Penn came here and his quote unquote walking treaty. So to hear this is very affirming to me, and I thank you. My question really, I wanted to know if there's anything that we could do on the high school level that would, other than just raise awareness and increase awareness about green chemistry. I would like to know, is there anything in terms of curriculum that we can do at the high school level to kind of pique the interest of high school students?
Sure. So I don't know, Tricia, if you have any insight for that, if you've done any work with high school students, but I will pass it off to you first, but then I can address from the Beyond Benign side.
Sure, thanks. I think in order to get students, high school students interested, you need to show them a real life application. And I know at university that we are trying to implement SFC, for example. I always take something that's relevant to them, something they can see, impurities in water, something that's happening currently in the community and the world, and we use that in a practical, and that suddenly I got the attention of everybody. I mean, now I'm giving a fourth year prac, and it's analysis of CBD oils. So I really got their attention. So it's about just giving them something that they can relate to. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great response. And I will say from Beyond Benign, as I mentioned in the intro, we do K through 12 work as well. And so I know in the supercritical fluid kind of realm, there is a way to extract, I believe it's limonene from orange peels or lemon peels, with using materials that you would be able to find and use in a high school setting. So that kind of connection back to the presentation we just had. But we definitely have resources, and I will just mention all of our resources from Beyond Benign are open access, as well as Tricia's paper that was in Green Chemistry Letters and Reviews. That journal is open access as well. So a great place to take green chemistry resources that are out there, like the one that Tricia just shared. I do see another question in the comment section or in the chat section. It's, do you have a lab experiment in SFC that we can use? I have no experience, so don't feel prepared to use it. So Tricia, do you want to speak to that?
This is actually one of my points also in the paper, where I'm trying to appeal to more established researchers in the field. But my lab, we ourselves working on. We're working on trying to put a simple experiment together that we can publish as a practical. So you hear from us soon.
Great. So it sounds like more to come for Tricia on this topic. Are there other questions in the chat or any other questions that people would like to unmute? I'm just scanning to see if I've missed any or hands. I see a comment in the chat, actually comes from one of our signers, our first signer in Africa, First Technical University. Is her university a GCC signer? If not, will she be joining us? So I think you've got someone interested in seeing you join us in this community.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I did not know Beyond Benign before Natalie had contacted me, and I see that already one of another university in a slightly different province from me has already joined. So yes, and Definitely, I'm gonna already talk to the head of school at the chemistry department and get this going, because I mean, all of us as chemists, you know, we have this responsibility to change the way we do chemistry and the way we teach chemistry. So definitely, yes.
Great. I like the peer pressure. This is this is great. This is how we get more green chemistry done. I do see another comment or question in the chat of how can we fill the gap between industry and college regarding green chemistry? So I know you spoke a little bit about that, Tricia. If you want to add any comments in there.
Yes, my opinion about this is as academics, we need to keep up with the industry trends. And you know, sometimes as researchers, we have a certain inertia. And that hold us back. But I think this is what, if you are keeping up to date with industry trends, with your particular research field and what is happening, I think this is a fast way to actually close this gap on what's happening between industry and the type of research that's going on in our labs and the type of graduates we need to train in order to get to that industry. So yeah, it's just about researchers and academics being a little bit more responsible and keeping up to date with the latest trends. That's just my opinion.
It's great. That's a great opinion. And so Samson, I see that you're unmuted, so go for it. Ask your question, make a statement.
Yeah, Tricia, it's actually nice to listen to our presentation and to actually see this wonderful work from KwaZulu-Natal University. I was there some years back, but it's awesome to actually see her. But it will be so good if you really come on board, and it will also be wonderful if you can actually also link up with Rhodes University. They are part of the GCC already, and it will be wonderful if you can have more of you on the board. And most importantly, we need visibility. We need visibility. We need more universities in Africa. We need more universities in the continent to actually. And I believe, sincerely, Nigeria, South Africa, if Morocco, yeah, and if we play the leadership role, every other country in the continent will join. So it's nice to have you on board. Personally, I will have to personally keep in touch with you and to see that in not too far from now you join the GCC. And I also like to invite you to the ABC conference that will be coming up in Morocco later in the year, which will be nice to share. And on the final note, have you considered the economic value in terms of resources? If you use SFC and the normal chromatography technique, what's the in terms of economic value, in terms of resources utilization? Is it better off, or is it more expensive? Is it cheaper? So have you looked at it in terms of economic viability? Thank you.
Thanks, Samson. Yes, definitely. I agree with you. We need to work together to try to become more visible and spread this message for the universities across Africa. And I'm involved in a couple of other organizations to which I will be pushing this agenda as well. And thank you so much for the invite. You can contact me at the end of the session and I can send you my email address so we can talk further. With regards to the economics, I don't have a quantification for you, but I can tell you that for SFC, yes, there's an initial investment, and right now SFC is sort of an SFC system is sort of the same price as one would invest in an HPLC, but I really feel like it's definitely advantageous because I'm no longer paying for silica. I'm no longer paying for disposal of waste at my university. This is a high cost. And the throughput is much faster because here I can purify maybe 5 sets of compound if you're taking 5 days. Whereas in the past, 5 sets of compounds in normal chromatography will take us 2 weeks. So I don't have a quantification for you on the numbers, but definitely I can tell you it's advantageous for the type of chemistry and method development that we do at our lab. So but we can be in touch. Thank you, Samson.
This is wonderful. This is what this event is all about, is making connections. So connecting the people that may not know that they are near each other or doing work that really they should be sharing. So this has been a wonderful discussion. So thank you so much, Tricia, for sharing your work. I am just going to share a slide for where we are going next. And we are going into what we call BYOR, which is bring your own resource or request. We do have a shared drive that you can share your resources. It's our Google site that we have. That link was in the invitation email that you got. But really this time is for networking and connecting. So if you're not giving a presentation, giving us that time and space to interact with each other. Again, a reminder that it is that general guideline of speak up and step back. So give an introduction to yourself, your name, your affiliation, a resource that you know about, or a resource you created, or a request you have about a resource as well for this community. I think we are all on different levels of our understanding and journey in green chemistry education. And so do remember that code of conduct. But I know that NIM has set us up in breakout rooms on the back side. And so I believe there's about 10 people in each breakout room. So we are going to be in these breakout rooms until about 12:55. And then we will pull you back for a short break before we go to our next presentation. So NIM, are you ready to send us to those breakout rooms?
Yes, I am. And I would just like to add, if anyone has any trouble getting into the breakout rooms, you can just unmute yourself and I can manually assign you to one as well. So, but let's try this.
I hope that you coming back from your break. We are excited to have another short presentation, so we'll give people just a minute to tune back in. But I am really excited to introduce our next two speakers. Again, our most recent signer of the Green Chemistry Commitment, already doing amazing work on their campus around green chemistry. So I am going to give some short introductions to our team joining us from Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. And I can see them there with their camera on. So I'm going to say thank you for joining us. Welcome. I'm going to give a short introduction and then we'll turn it over to you to present. So this is Dr. Rebecca DeVasher and Dr. Stephanie Poland. Dr. DeVasher, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is the Associate Professor of Chemistry and Biochemistry who leads an active research program in green chemistry, who seeks to develop a new method and technology that reduce or eliminates the use of hazardous chemicals. She is the winner of the 2020 Dean's Outstanding Teacher Award, and she's involved in various sustainability initiatives on campus, as well as being a faculty mentor to visiting high school seniors completing science projects in the Rose-Hulman Operation Catapult program, and is an advisor for the Unity Student Organization. And Dr. Stephanie Poland is an associate professor of chemistry and biochemistry, and her area of expertise is inorganic chemistry, green chemistry, and polymer synthesis and characterization. And her research focuses on small molecule activation using transition metal catalysts, as well as the development of bio-friendly plastics. So with that short introduction, I'm going to pass it over to you two to take away and tell us about the work you have going on in your green chemistry course.
Hello, hello. Hello. Can you see the screen just fine?
Yep, we can see it. You're not in presentation mode just yet, but we can see it. And you're just a little, I can't hear you that well, so maybe just a little bit louder.
Okie dokie. How is this for volume? Very good.
Sounds a little bit better. Yep.
Okay, good. We had to pivot a little bit. We had our timing set up and then some things went ahead of schedule. So we had to move into a different room. So hopefully the echo is not horrible in here. Okay, good. So I am Rebecca DeVasher. Thank you for having us on and for the lovely introduction, Natalie. We really appreciate it. Hello, everybody. It was good talking with everyone in the breakout session, and it was really awesome to hear Tricia talk about supercritical fluids. I want one of those setups. We have a Dean's Equipment Fund coming up here pretty soon. I'm already thinking we can sneak that in there. So I'm excited about that and appreciate it. So we are here I'll let Stephanie take over here in just a second and introduce herself a little bit more. But we're here to talk about our green chemistry course that we taught at Rose-Hulman, and we want to give you some information about what we did, some observations, some of the things that we really liked that we felt were fun for us. We have a student here, Hannah. So I actually want to introduce Hannah. Hannah Snyder is a chemistry and chemical engineering student, and so in the breakout session there are a couple of folks here that are in the engineering crowd, and so Hannah's here. Hannah, do you want to say just what graduating year you are?
Sure. I'm Hannah Snyder, chemical engineering and chemistry, class of 2024, and so I do a lot of research with Dr. DeVasher on green chemistry and sustainability here on campus. Pretty cool.
So we have Hannah here to kind of give a little bit of a student perspective, and so we're excited to join you. Stephanie, am I leaving something out?
No, I'm Stephanie Poland. I'm the one that's been kind of in the corner here of Rebecca's camera. I am an associate professor, and we did teach this green chemistry course. We're on quarters here at Rose-Hulman, so we taught this course last quarter during the winter, and we tried something new based on some other things that had happened on campus, and we were quite pleased with how it turned out, and we thought that some other people might be interested in basically learning what we had done and what we did, why we did it, and what we learned from it. So we're really excited to share that with you today.
Okay, so let's see a little bit about Rose-Hulman. Rose-Hulman is a private undergraduate institution. We are on the quarter-based academic calendar, as Stephanie said. We have about 2,000 undergraduates here at Rose, and you can see the degree programs are listed on the screen there. We are STEM focused, so if you come to Rose-Hulman as a freshman and I actually am a freshman advisor, and so I do some advising. Stephanie is also a freshman advisor, and so there's a lot of faculty play a big role in student advising. And I actually get the undeclared majors, and so this is their choice. And so if you want to study, if you want to major in English, this is not the school for you. So not to say that we do not have one thing I do want to mention that has been sort of something that's come from this group. There is a lot of humanities and social sciences courses that our students are required to take, which is a good thing. And so these are the degree programs, but we have a full humanities and social sciences department, and they offer a number of classes in literature, art, film. So it's a full slate of humanities courses that our students do take. So we do feel like even though the list of majors does give you a really good idea of kind of who and what we are, it doesn't give you the full picture. So we really do try to operate as much like a liberal arts school as we can in this sort of technical environment. So that's how I would describe Rose-Hulman. Anything? All right, so our department. So here's Stephanie and Sophia doing work in our new academic building. So we just got a new academic building this year. Our department chair made sure that I would mention that in this group, and so it's really important. And it's really been a big push and a big reason why we felt really good about signing this commitment back in March. So we moved into this building in the fall. And so anybody that's ever done academic moves or lab moves, we're here, you're with me, right? We know what that's like. So it's a tough move. It was a lot of work, but we're really happy to be in these new labs. So here's a picture of the new lab, and you can see that it's a really slick space. It's very nice. It's clean. It's very well aligned with green chemistry principles. We have a number of technical help and engineering controls that allow us to operate much more safely than we were in our older laboratories, which were very outdated. And so we're really thrilled to have this new space, and because of its alignment, because of what now we're capable of doing in it, we felt really good about signing this commitment and really just, you know, reaching for the stars. So we're actually a pretty large, relatively large department for the size of school that we are. So I always, you know, try to make sure that we are 11 faculty, 2 technical staff, and 1 administrative assistant. We have about 35 majors, so we're small and mighty compared to the 2,000. Most of those are mechanical engineers. But so we do have a big gen ed service to other departments, so we do have a larger faculty. So that's a really nice feature for a STEM focused school to have so many faculty, and so our major to faculty ratio is excellent. Okay, so we have Rose-Hulman. We're on the quarter system. Stephanie and I didn't talk a whole lot about our backgrounds, but we have similar backgrounds in organometallic chemistry, and we've worked together on this course before. And so we wanted to, this winter, we were scheduled to teach it, and so we wanted to try something new. And it's a 4 credit hour course, and so, you know, you guys that teach recognize, so we have 4 lecture hours per week, and so that's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, for 10 weeks. And so it's you know, it's a long grind there. There was a faculty member here, Bill Klein, and so he is our and Bill Klein has passed away. He's no longer with us, he was a great mentor of mine, and really did a lot on campus in terms of sort of promoting that sort of what I can think of as like let go of the perfectionist kind of mentality. So he was really good about you know, reaching out to people, and so he started this lightning talks. And so the Center for Diversity and Inclusion picked it up and started hosting it once Bill passed away, and so it's now touted as the most interesting hour on campus. And so you can sign up and give a lightning talk. It's 5 to 10 minutes. The goal is to engage, educate, and enlighten someone on some topic. And the quote that always goes along with it is to kind of let go of the perfectionist mentality, to just, you know, be yourself, be authentic, and say what's on your mind. And so, you know, Stephanie and I were talking about this 4 credit hour course. We have 4 lectures to do. How cool would it be for Friday to be Lightning Talk Friday? And so that's kind of where we started. And so we you know, had the students, then we set out a schedule, and it worked out really well with the number of students that we had. And so here's some of the talk titles. So hopefully you guys can see these talk titles. I don't know if you have to move your little bar around so you can see them. But these are some of the examples of the lightning talks that students gave. So I'll just leave those there for you to see that there's you know, the let go of perfectionists was really a big part of this, right? I mean, we wanted students to give a talk on a technical topic, but the talk did not have to be technically perfect, right? So that's a pretty big departure from what you would typically see in a classroom setting. And so it did take some, you know, kind of working. So you can sort of see, like, there were some students that jumped in right away, right? So the student that wrote What the Duck, they were really excited about the let go of perfectionist mentality. There was no issue with that student. They had let it go a long time ago, and they were ready to go. There were other students that, you know, it was much more comfortable for them to give a more technical talk to get out started. And so we had a wide variety of both topic choices, of the sort of level of technical information that students would give, and there was a lot of variety in these talks. Do you have anything you want to?
Yeah, I would just say that the way that we presented this to the students was, this is a way to get you up and speaking in front of your classmates, so they're getting practice speaking in front of an audience. This is them getting to own their education in green chemistry. In a 10-week course, we can go through all of the principles individually, or we can do case studies, or we can have them do problem sets and do all of the traditional educational things. but we really saw this as a way for them to take a little bit of ownership and get to explore something, maybe not to an expert level, but take what they're already interested in and then take in and learn more of the green chemistry aspects of that. So even with these titles, it was clear that sometimes these were absolutely presentations that had been recycled from other classes. But we could always actually see the little bit extra that they had done to tie it in. Maybe it was only one extra slide or one extra bullet point, but there was the taking something that they had already owned and then bringing it into a green chemistry platform. In terms of structure, the students had to do 4 of these throughout the term, and we had 4 present every single week. So they were about 10 to 15 minutes a piece. So the give in from the students wasn't much, but I think the takeaway and the breadth of what we were able to have the students really interact with was pretty significant. And I think you're going to talk about that more here on the next slide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this is a data slide. So some people are really comfortable with rows and columns, and so I assume most of you guys are okay with this. I know it's busy, but essentially what I did, and we kind of thought, well, let's see if so Stephanie was like, hey, let's map these talks to green chemistry principles, and I was like, that's brilliant. That's of course what we're going to do. And so it was just a real quick kind of mapping. This was just pass fail. Was it very obvious that this principle was applied or discussed or mentioned or not? And so it had to be pretty explicit for it to get a green check mark. So there were some of the red X's where you may argue that there was something there, but unless it was very explicit, I did not count it, so to speak. So you can sort of see that there's a wide variety of both talk, the way that the talks would, whether they would span all many green chemistry principles, and the other thing that you can see here is that there's some green chemistry principles that were more represented than others, and so there's a lot of information here that I thought was very interesting, and there was some unexpected results. And so we have, I got some more information here. This is the same stuff. I just plotted this as a bar graph. And so these are the number of green chemistry principles are represented here on the x-axis per student talk title. So the talk title is on the x-axis, and on the y-axis are the number of green chemistry principles, and those are each color-coded. So if you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors, then there were 5 principles mentioned. And you can see that the principles are coded down at the bottom in the legend. Some of those, it turned out really well on the screen. Actually looks okay. You can kind of see what's going on here. But like there's some unexpected, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. There were some unexpected results. So things like redox flow, batteries, carbon dioxide sequestration, those are topics where you typically think have a lot of green chemistry applications. And so I would have expected to see so many principles being applied in some of those cases. And then, what the student chose to talk about was what was highlighted here. And so it was interesting to me, I think, to see that. And then things like primary explosives had higher things. Let's see, Marcia, did you have your hand up? Do you want to pop one in?
Yes, I did have a couple of quick questions. I wanted to know whether or not the students, I know it's letting go of perfection, but did the students have to submit like an outline? How many people were they presenting in front of? And did they do the presentations more than once throughout the span of your course?
Those are great questions. So the students did not submit an outline. We did not require them to give us any advanced information. We said, here are the weeks where you will be presenting. You need to have your topics ready. You need to be ready to go. And other than a couple of illnesses, everybody was always ready to go. In terms of giving multiple talks, yes, they gave 4 throughout the quarter. So it went every other week. So since we have a 10-week quarter, we would know that students would either be on an even week or an odd week. And we actually would give on opposite weeks as well to join in and be comrades in arms for lightning talk weeks. The students were presenting only to the other students in the class. So that also, there were 7 students and then the 2 of us in there. So it did keep it small. It was a safe place for them to be presenting in front of each other.
Did you observe that the students became more proficient in their delivery as the weeks went on, so that the 4th week was considerably better than the first week?
Yeah, I would say yes and no. By the end, I would say maybe that where it was a ramp up and then a fall down as we got closer to the end of the term, just because the students were getting burnt out. We had at the end of the course, because the first week we didn't have lightning talks, and then the very last week we did full student presentations. So instead of this 5 to 10 minute talk, they gave a 25-minute more deep dive talk. And I would say that because we had done the lightning talks throughout, they knew better what we were looking for their more in-depth talks. So the in-depth talks at the end of the term were much stronger as a result of the priming throughout the quarter.
My last question is the expectation for the students on a scale of 1 to 10, was the expectation, even though it was a lightning talk, the amount of time that they had to speak was truncated, was the expectation excellence? Was the expectation to be able to deliver? Was the expectation to expose the group to new and different learnings?
The goal was to give a talk that illustrated green chemistry principles on an area of your choice. That was the assignment. And so they did. So they were expected to illustrate green chemistry principles, and but it could be anything that they chose. And there was no expectation for excellence. So some of the things here that, again, there were just some interesting results from what I would have expected some titles or some topics to have yielded, and so that was kind of interesting. And I would say similarly with the poor real-time monitoring for pollution prevention did end up being somewhat of a we kind of a class sort of mascot. We definitely talked about real-time monitoring for pollution prevention. You can tell how proficient I am at saying that. And we actually talked about it quite a bit. And so, but none of the talks actually landed on that topic. And so you can sort of see where our students tended to explicitly, and part of me wonders if those lines past that median, so things like catalysis, safer solvents, energy efficiency, those sorts of things. I wonder if it's just that our students are more comfortable talking about those topics, in addition to, so familiarity and interest, I think, are both at play here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that one thing that I got out of this when we did a back analysis of what the students had presented is that there is a real pull toward large scale initiatives, the quote unquote like sexy side of green chemistry. The students want to make big impacts. But when it comes to something that could potentially make a big impact, like looking at an economic reaction and really getting into the nitty gritty, they sort of shied away from those sorts of things. And the familiarity maybe with the bigger picture ideas was interesting to see.
So the big thing too for us is that it kind of the lightning talks felt almost like a gift. It was really nice to as a faculty member to give them, right? And so it was nice to hear them. It was nice to give them. It was nice to be in that environment. It totally, I think, changed. Sort of that day felt kind of like a different day, and So it sort of had like its own, gave the class a little bit of a rhythm, you know, and I don't know if you guys like rhythm, I like rhythm. And so I like for something to feel like I can, you know, have movement. And so I thought that was really nice.
Mm-hmm. I really thought that it gave life to every Friday. And then on Monday, we would get back into studying much more intensely about the things. But on Friday, then a student might say like, oh yeah, like we learned about earlier this week, like here's this thing. And that was truly a joy.
Yeah, it was. And Hannah's going to tell you a little bit of her perspective. And I'm just going to scoot this around here and just let you give. So this is Hannah again. Hello, Hannah.
Hello. Yeah, for sure. As a student, having the opportunity to take a course like entirely focused on green chemistry really allowed me to gain like a stronger sense of the subject. I had heard about the concept of green chemistry in previous courses like organic chemistry, some analytical chemistry, but this class really solidified the wide variety of applications that green chemistry can have for me as a student and in my future career. And so it really, I guess for me, showed that green chemistry can be applied to my academics, my personal life, and potentially the industrial areas I might go in the future. And so that was really cool for me. One of the main takeaways I think that I had from the course was just a personal improvement regarding how I view the principles of green chemistry and how I apply them to my classwork and the research I help with here at Rose. And a lot of that was due to the lightning talks and recognizing how these different concepts can tie into different things. And so the lightning talks overall were just a fantastic way to learn about a diverse array of green chemistry concepts. Because I'm really interested in materials and synthesis, most of my lightning talks were focused on that area. And so it was really fun for me to be like, yes, I love aerogels. I'm going to show the whole class about them and share my joy. But then there were other subjects that were presented that I personally would never have looked into or have ever connected them to green chemistry. And so that was really cool as well. Like, I would have never gone on my own and researched how rubber ducks can connect to green chemistry. But that was something I learned about in this class and with the lightning talks. So that was super cool. Overall, though, having the opportunity to take a green chemistry course and participate in lightning talks really shifted my mindset regarding chemistry and chemical engineering. I'm now more conscious of the decisions I make in lab, and I really try and connect with my professors in my chemistry and engineering classes and ask, hey, like, is this process safe or is this process environmentally friendly? And if so, in the real world, how can we make this shift? How can we, become more centered around green chemistry? So overall, I really love the course, and the lightning talks really, I guess, helped connect me to green chemistry a lot more.
Thank you, Hannah. Really appreciate it. Hannah's super busy. Hannah's a double major, and she's taking thermo and fluids right now. So those of you that have gone through the engineering, you know what that is like. And this is finals week, 10th week for us. Next week is finals week. So Hannah's an all-star, and we really, really, really appreciate Hannah. Yes. And so just to kind of, and we're running a minute late, so I want to finish this up. So some of our observations for lighting talks that we observed were there were some unexpected things, and then there were some things that were really just really amazing. So the active student learning that we observed, and what seemed to be lowering barriers to student engagement was so that like let go of perfectionist thing really did help a lot, I think. And it really was cool to see our students so engaged in large-scale industrial processes and these sort of big ideas and thoughts that they had for sustainability. And we did have fun with we did have a good kind of team atmosphere, and we very much poked fun at real-time analysis for pollution prevention. And we really liked it, right? And then now it's one of those things where now anytime anybody sees anything that has anything remotely to do with real-time analysis for pollution prevention, we'll all flag each other down and make sure we find it. So, and supercritical fluids will be one of those things I think is kind of awesome. I don't know if you saw, there was a supercritical fluid lighting talk, so somebody did a talk on that, and yeah, now I have to get a kit. So with that, thank you guys, we really appreciate it. Sorry I went over a minute or 3, but thank you for your attention, we really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I see people are already putting things into the chat as questions as well. So I do know that we do have breakout rooms that I think we're set to have here, but maybe we could answer this one question that's coming into the chat just because others may have that same idea. So I don't know if you can see the question or if you'd like me to read it out loud there. So can you see the question?
Yeah, we can see it.
Great. And so just a little bit higher on the volume too. I know I'm kind of like, you're saying amazing things and I'm just going to get closer to my computer.
I'm going to get very close.
Perfect.
Were the lightning talks able to boost their presentation skills and views on green chemistry? Absolutely, absolutely. I 100% believe that. And the thing that I think that the lightning talks brought is more the breadth, not the depth, but the breadth, and allowing the students to see that there are so many different places where we can actually engage with green chemistry. Again, we're going on the duck one, but really that student pulled us into a world with rubber duckies and got that and just had a fun excursion with that for 10 minutes. And so, yes, I think that made it more theirs. Rather than us just lecturing at them every day. And even if you try to keep that engaging, just having this Friday to look forward to where they didn't know what they were going to get from their classmates was really exciting. And are there other fun methods? Honestly, when we teach this again the next time, hopefully we will again co-teach it, and 100% we will do lightning talks again. So I'm sure there are other engaging things out there, but this for us proved to be a very useful tool for engaging our students within the topic and getting them actually to take ownership of this. Did they contribute to the overall assessment mark? They did, yes. The students were required to upload their slides after their presentations every week. And so that was kind of a checkbox assignment for them to do. So they were not formally assessed on the presentation, but we did give them completion points for completing them every week. And I gotta say, we didn't mention it too much, but I had a blast making my own lightning talks. Every other week we were giving them as well. And so I got to do recycling and some fun CO2 stuff. I'm a CO2 nerd, so this supercritical fluids was awesome. But getting to get in and do those as well, we probably spent more time on them than we should have, but it was also a real joy.
Into thermoelectric. Turns out I really like thermoelectric films. So there's a couple of places it's right for green chemistry too, by the way. Those things they need, there's a lot of places where I could point out in this and this and this. Yeah, I see that in the chat about infographic. Yeah, that's another that's a fun one. That's a good answer to number 2 question up there. And we did this we have a research rotations course, and one of the assignments is for students to do a graphical abstract, and that has been joyful as well. So these joyful assignments are really important to have. I think it really does help to make the environment what you really want, which is, you kind of build that team out, and so it feels good, like everybody's being supported and everybody's included and everybody has their place. It's awesome. I think green chemistry does that as well. I think there's something natural about it.
I totally agree. So thank you so much for your feedback on that. I know that we have about 20 minutes now to go into breakout rooms. So I know that NIM has on the back side set up 3 different rooms. So there is the option, and I believe that you will be able to select which breakout room that you go to. So you can go to our first speaker to ask more questions if you didn't get those answers, or to just talk about supercritical fluids more, or go and learn and talk more about lightning talks or more ideas on how to maybe do some creative ways to get chemistry and green chemistry talked about within your courses. And I believe the last one is for me. So maybe you're completely new to the green chemistry community and you're going, these things are all great, but I just need to learn about green chemistry first before I feel comfortable in diving in. So come join me in that room if that is your background. So I think Nim is going to open those up on the backside, and you should be able to select those. So Nim, if you could just give me a thumbs up. Awesome. We are all coming back. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope you had a lovely time networking, talking about the presentations more, or I know in my group is talking about how to do more green chemistry, get started in green chemistry. So again, making those great connections. I know we are getting close to our 2 p.m. time, so our 2 hours together is wrapping up, but I know I always love this time together. So thank you for joining us today. We do want to tell you what we are up to this summer, and hopefully we will get to interact with you more online this summer through the events that I am going to mention next. So really this is our what's next and our wrap up portion of our connection today. We do have the Migraine Lab Summit, and you can find all of these events that I'm going to mention on our website, on our events page. But we have a partnership with Migraine Labs that focuses on a Green Labs program. They have their summit happening on the 26th of May. If you had a chance to interact with Jonathan Mora, who is our GCTLC program manager at Beyond Benign during the connection today, he's going to be in the panel discussion during this event. And so you can learn more about that in the link that's being dropped in the chat. We are going to be going in person. So I know I can speak for my higher ed team. So Nim, Jonathan Mora, who I just mentioned, and also Juliana will be in person at the GCNE. So it's the Green Chemistry and Engineering Conference that's happening in Reston, Virginia. And we know that a ton of our community members are going to be there. So if you visit our events page, you'll find a whole list of talks that are being given by Beyond Benign staff or our educational advocates. So those that are working with us on curriculum projects or the green chemistry teaching and learning community are listed there, as well as all of the education sessions that are happening at this conference. If you haven't heard of this conference before and you're thinking, oh darn, I wish I knew about that sooner, it is hybrid this year. So there is that option to still attend, even if you're not willing to travel in person or can't travel in person for any reason. It should be a great conference. It does kick off with what the conference calls GC&E Fridays, and we actually have a GC&E Friday this Friday that's being run by Juliana Vidal and myself, and also a network career that we have. And this is on careers in green chemistry for sustainable design. This is a panel discussion, so it's about 6 industry, nonprofit, academia background people and careers talking about how they got into those positions and why green chemistry skills are important for the workforce. So this might be a session that you want to check out for yourself or share with your students if they are attending that green chemistry and engineering conference. We will also be headed, not myself, but Nim and Juliana will be headed to the CCCE. So if you are joining us from Canada and that is the conference that you are attending this summer, know that Beyond Benign will be there as well. We do have another virtual event coming up about green chemistry education that is being hosted by Verdish Chem. And this is a discussion about green chemistry education with our executive director, Amy Kinnan from Beyond Benign. And maybe you met her during the connections here today. I saw her, but I didn't get to actually interact with her. Dr. Lisa Abram will be talking about her work in green chemistry as well. So again, that link to find all the information about these events is in the chat. I do want to invite you all and hopefully encourage you to come to our Green Chemistry Commitment Summit. That is on June 23rd from 11 to 3 p.m. In the chat, you're going to get the link to register for that. This event is open and free for anyone to join us that's interested in learning more about green chemistry education, the green chemistry commitment. It is a lot like our event today, a little bit different in the sense that we will have industry panel in the first hour of the event to speak about the value of green chemistry skills in industry and how we can kind of close that gap between industry and academia as well, and why we want to. And so this event, I would say, if you've enjoyed your time with us today, come join us for another 2 hours of interacting online during the Green Chemistry Commitment Summit. And so you can register for that event with the link in the chat, but we will make sure to follow up with all the information as that comes out as well. Another conference that we are attending this year is called the BCCE. It's the Biannual Conference on Chemical Education. Why we always call it the BCCE. Nobody can ever remember the name, but we are excited to attend. So we will have a booth at this conference. There's going to be the Toxicology for Chemists workshop going on there, and a lot of members of the green chemistry community presenting in sessions and workshops as well. And we will also have a just kind of informal networking event there. So we would love to know if you are going to be attending these events. Please reach out to us and let us know. We'd love to meet you in person if you are going in person, or just interact with you through those events. We do have our Green Chemistry Connection Google site. So if you want to follow up on discussion from today, this is the place to do it. It's also the place where we will post the recording for this and any presentations that were given today, so you can access any links or information that you would like to there as well. I will say that our Google site is just a lead-in to the great thing that is going to come in 2023, which is called the Green Chemistry Teaching and Learning Community, or we call it the GCTLC. Giving green chemistry a little TLC is where that acronym comes from. And this is a platform that's going to be for K-12 higher education and industry stakeholders. So do keep in touch, stay tuned for when that is going to be coming out. I'm sure we'll be talking about it during all of our connections next year. So I do want to take just a last moment to thank our sponsors, those that are investing in green chemistry education, allowing us to do the work that we do, and to share those funds with our educational partners as well. And a specific thank you to the Green Chemistry Connection sponsor, which is the Department of Ecology at the state of Washington. If you are joining us from an industry, please do reach out. We'd love to interact with industry more so we can close that gap and understand what industry really needs to see in the future workforce for skills. So I am going to leave off on, please do join us for the Green Chemistry Commitment Program annual summit so that we can interact more. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. I know we have 2 minutes left, and I can see there's some things in the chat. So I am just going to make sure there's no comments in there or questions. Awesome. So it looks like all of the links were shared there. And so I know we are up on our 2 o'clock time. And so thank you for joining us today. You don't have to, well, you are at home maybe or in your office, but we are going to say thank you for joining us, and we will see you hopefully at a future event this summer. And if not, we'll be running these monthly connections next year during the academic year, and we hope to see you then.